All right, let's close that up. There, should be pretty good. Just kind of finishing up the night. Figured we would do a live stream as I haven't talked to you guys since the new year, so that's pretty darn slick, not gonna lie. We'll let everyone kind of get in here. I don't plan these, I just kind of do them. So that's pretty good. Anyway, see if I can find a seat here somewhere where I can at least see what's going on. Oh, there we go. Not too bad. But yeah, there's a lot of new fellas here. That's the 1954 International chassis swap. That's basically our bread and butter on this channel. We've, we haven't touched it in a while, and we still have more mega cab stuff to do. I'm just waiting on a couple parts, but we have a couple episodes filmed or half filmed already. They just got to go through the editor. But it's working out pretty darn good. I'm going to have to move you guys a little closer. I can't read a single thing. There we go. I wanted to get more of the international in the scene, but I can't read anything from that far away. These insulated coveralls, I think I just put out a short on them. You can't go wrong with these things. Like no sweater, no nothing, just a t-shirt underneath. Basically like a little sheep running around. Oh yeah. You're not even freezing at -10. All right, what do we got in here? Good morning. It's basically night for me, pal, but good morning to you. Brett says hello and Ricky says hello. Nice to see you guys, as always. Ricky, nice to see you. But what do we got in here? Yes, sir. Where did I get those coveralls? Best place to get stuff like this, you can go brand new if you want to. But for me, these coveralls are some nice, but I would be surprised if they make it through the winter and spring season. They're likely to be done for next year. I'll be really lucky to get 2 winters out of them. So I go to Frenchie's, Salvation Army, wherever you hunt secondhand. These bad boys, pick them up for $20. You can't go wrong with any of that. No, sir. It's better than the jack shirts and sweater combo that I used to run. Those guys, I don't know if you guys remember some of the videos that I did after welding. I had like a polyester jack shirt, pinholes. Looked like a big piece of Swiss cheese running around. It was not good either way. What else we got? Brett says hi again. Redneck Jack, hi. Lynn, hi. How's it going? Oh, I know who you are. But either way, yeah. What I wanted to talk about is just basically the international and a couple things on the mega cab. Just kind of waiting for a couple people to get in here. Not too shabby at all. The international is a pretty nice seat. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie at all. But no, basically the international, our plan for this fella is basically tackle him head on and just chug away at it. We gotta put it back together piece by piece, because even after a year, there's a lot of things I forgot about this truck that we still need to do. And the best way to learn is to kind of throw her back together. It'll only take maybe a week or so, whatever. And then we can do our final body fabrication. And if we need to blow it apart again, we can blow it apart again, because I would really like to paint the frame, but I kind of want to get all the body mods figured out, at least for the base model truck right now. Excuse me. What else we got? I know I ask a lot of questions, but how did you change the gas tank on a Ford? Be more specific of which Ford, what year. I can help you out a lot better. Any trouble for the MVI on the Mega Cab? No. So far, everyone thinks it's just a 4-door base model truck. And you know what? It's only about a foot longer than the actual normal truck, which is pretty darn slick. So no, we did pretty good, really. No complaints. It's been driving really, really nice. Drive it every single day. It's just a nice unit. Put along fine. No issues. I quite like it. I really do. It turned out better than I could have hoped, really. 1986. So for the gas tank on that fella, if it's the front tank, if it's around here, I should say, the bed on the truck is easier to lift up. It's just a couple bolts. Undo your filler neck. You can lift the entire thing right up, and you can get at the gas tank, top, bottom, sending unit, all that stuff. You can do it super dirty if you don't care about the truck and it's like an old plow truck or something. Auger a hole right through the bed. You'll be fine there. You can get your sending unit, all that stuff. No problems. If you're going to drop it, I recommend dropping it when it's empty. But if you can't, on the newer trucks, you can actually disconnect it further ahead on the engine or right at your splice or whatever. Run that into a jerry can and basically just run key on, and it will siphon that tank completely dry. Then you can empty that out. Same as your rear tank, just move your selector switch, all that stuff. Hello. Brett says, thanks. Yeah, no real issues, really. It all depends. It's like everywhere else. If you guys aren't familiar, motor vehicle inspection is specific to certain provinces, and in states, there's motor vehicle inspection as well. Different states have different requirements. Different provinces have different requirements. And it all depends on what shop you go to as well at the end of the day. That's the best answer I can give, really. But so far, it's been a damn fine, dandy truck. I quite like it. Hello from Edmonton. Hello from New Brunswick. We're about as far away as we can get. Not gonna lie. Minnie, what does that say? Mind of a cucumber says hello. How'd you do? We were basically just talking about, oh, I'll grab that again. It's me again from the last stream. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a while since we did the last stream. I try to do one at least a month. We'll try to do, well, this month's basically done. So next month we'll try to bang out two, one at the very beginning and one at the end. Kind of slacked off through December. We never really hit that live stream, but it is what it is. You can only do what you can do. So we're just going to touch base on it, but I'll jump back to the international for a second, then I'll read some more comments. But what I want to do is reassemble this guy so then we can finish our body fabrication. That's going to be the back of the hood assembly. We still have to do the very back little quarter fenders on that. And then we still have to do our running boards, that being our main bracket support system and the actual running board itself. Basically making that out of sheet steel. It's going to work out pretty darn good at the end of the day. But we have to do that so then we can get the general gist of the entire truck. I guess there's still a door we have to do rust repair to. And then it's just after that, it's get the engine in it, get the fuel system running. Then we can run the truck as it sits and go from there. Because it's a 6.9 IDI, virtually needs nothing to run the little fella. It basically just needs a key on the, or a key hot for your key on. I'm miswording. A power on for your key on your injection pump. And we're likely going to run an electric pump too as well, like an electric lift pump. So we'll have to have that. And then your starter. The rest of it is just surplus. Even your glow plug's a surplus because you can use ether. We used ether for 2.5 years. No problem there. I would say it's about 2.5 years on one Power Stroke and then about 7 years on Old Blue. So they work pretty good, not gonna lie. What do we got for comments again? Let's see here. Hope you won't get a request for an engineer inspection when the cops do their thing around the time the car shows. Yeah, if you went to, what was it? It was not Stance East, wasn't Driven, that was in Halifax. I covered it on the channel and you can see it in the car show playlist. Last year, St. John, it was quite it was quite an interesting time, blocking off both ends of the roads and basically just going through the cars. It left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I understand why they did it because the year prior, it was almost like a takeover. You had people doing donuts in the road, blocking the cops, blocking the street. Basically, they just had to let that fizzle out the way it was. Basically, if you're around New Brunswick, you might know of the Memram Cook burnouts. It was like that, but in downtown St. John. So no wonder there was a lot of cops the next year, but they were harassing people that shouldn't be harassed. And I guess to answer your question, I wouldn't take the mega cab there. If I took the International there, it would be on the trailer of another vehicle And that other vehicle would be likely one of a new truck or something like that. Just, it's not worth my time to be harassed that way. So if I'm going to showcase that stuff to some shows, it's likely just going to be a trailer queen. But I wouldn't take the mega cab there. I wouldn't have took the F-150 there. I wouldn't even take my dad's 2013 Sierra there. So it is what it is. I don't even think I would take the Trans Am there. It doesn't have catalytic converters on it. So no, I don't think we would do that. But at the end of the day, I understand why they did it, but they went way over the top. For example, before I read more comments, there was a Toyota Supra. It was lowered an inch, nothing crazy, and a stainless steel exhaust. They gave him an engineered inspection, basically. For what that means is it flags your registration. You can't renew your vehicle, all that stuff, without that type of paperwork. Quite bad. And they were letting vehicles pass that were scraping on the ground and everything, and their main reason was it was from a different province and they couldn't handle anything that way. They couldn't enforce anything. But either way, the St. John show last year was an absolute cluster, and it left a really bad taste on everyone's mouths. For the car enthusiasts, there's a lot of fellas that go there for those events just to, watch, and that's okay. But then there's unscrupulous, like everywhere you go, there's going to be people that just want to party, and you have to have the right place and the right time for that kind of stuff. If you're downtown and you're throwing beer bottles at cars and stuff like that, and drinking on the street and smoking pot on the street, no wonder there's going to be a lot of cops the next year. But I think they went a little bit over the top. But that's just my opinion anyway. I forget what the name of that show, Roll Call. That was the name of the show. If you guys want to look it up, we covered Roll Call this year on the channel. We're likely not going to be back next year. That's just how it was. Same as Driven. I don't think we're going to be back at Driven. It was just kind of a drier beginning of the year show. Either way, that's my take on Roll Call. Anyway, let me roll up the comments here. I lost a lot of these here. Which one is the most one you drive the most? I'll answer that in a second. Speed Sport. Speed Sport this year was pretty rowdy too. We also covered Speed Sport. We didn't cover the night festivities. We had other things we had to do. But the midday stuff that was in the parking lot, we did that. But that's a little bit different from takeover style downtown. Zip ties has definitely proven that starting fluid won't always hurt an engine. Fun fact, might be doing a video on that. Just saying. Wish me luck. I might be going with my 89 C2500 extended cab long bed. You're going to need it. You're going to need good luck on that. You're entering a hornet's nest. It is what it is. Diesels love the Cosby sauce. Gramps Western had a Cosby button. Yes, sir. A lot of old internationals, a lot of old Western stars, Pete's, all that stuff, had an actual ether assist button. Sorry. And a loader, like a lot of heavy equipment, loaders, cranes, all that stuff, they also had ether assist buttons. Mind you, there's a lot of new things on engines that you really don't need ether to start. A lot of new engines there, because of the computer control, they can pretty much fire up anyway. If you're using ether, there's other issues going on. Likely some bigger issues, like your valves are going into your head, a whole bunch of stuff like high mileage stuff, they're wearing right out. But on the older stuff, they love it. It says in the owner's manual, don't use ether because of the pre-combustion chambers and the glow plugs and all that stuff. But you have to remember they also put a disclaimer, don't burn yourself with a hot pot of coffee from McDonald's, just so then they're not liable for anything. Same as a lot of like auto parts and stuff, they all say for off-road use only. That's just to handle legal issues down the road. You weren't supposed to use it on the road, you know what I mean? But who's going to really put a whole titanium exhaust on their mud truck? You know what I mean? Yeah? You get what I'm saying? So it's just for liability reasons. That's all. What else we got? No cats and one 4-inch M80 muffler. She's going to be loud. They're going to pick on you for sure. If I go down to that show, I'll try to see it. Best of luck to you. They were pulling people over. There was a Toyota Crown, I believe, on the back of a trailer. and they pulled over the tow truck because of it. Either way, what ended up happening is because it was still plated, the Toyota Crown on the trailer with the camber wheels and everything, DOT could still flag that vehicle because it was plated. And they could still fine them because it was plated for the road. It didn't matter that it was on the trailer. So, rule in thumb, if you want to be completely safe and trailer the vehicle, take your plates off when it's on the trailer for the entire day. You won't be able to drive it anywhere, mind you, legally. You know what I mean? You won't be able to drive it around the street and around the town, but they won't be able to pick on you because it doesn't have any plates on it, as long as it's on the trailer when you're moving it around. That will save you a lot of headache down the road. We learned a lot from roll call this year. Good day from Australia, mate. Love the dual cab bullnose. Yes, sir. It's quite a neat rigging at the end of the day. I want to put it side by side on another crew cab dually and just see how, because we can talk a foot difference all live long day. But what's the actual visual difference? You know what I mean? So we can see it eye to eye. I want to find another crew cab, dually, long bed truck around here. That way I can just put them side by side and we can really see. But the fun fact of the matter is, the new like F350s, 250s, all that stuff, quad cab long beds, it's still longer and it's still bigger. The new trucks still dwarf the mega cab, which is pretty darn nuts. Not gonna lie. It's pretty crazy that it's a Goliath of an old truck, but the new trucks are still like big old cruise ships compared to that thing. They got to put the do not eat on plastic wrappers nowadays. Not a fan of the modern. Yeah, everything. It's all about liability is the name of the game in the modern spectrum, I should say. So you're talking food, you're talking automotive parts, anything at all. Evening. Any word on the 1200 horsepower IDI from Juliet, Illinois? No, not yet. I've been reading through the comments. There's a few guys that are like older fellas that were young fellas back when that truck was running, and they've told stories and everything, but that's all it is right now, is stories. There's been no new videos or no new information yet, as of yet, of that truck. Like, I really, really hope. Half the reason I did the video, because I'm very curious about it too. Peg from Zip Ties and Bias Plies is curious, and a whole bunch of his buddies are curious. We know that the engine exists with the big P-pump on it, the custom intake, custom guts on the inside, all the internals are different, etc., etc. We know that that part of it exists, but does the 1200 horsepower number, is that real? That's the biggest thing that a lot of people want to know. And that would even be hard to test right now, because even if you got the engine in running shape and everything, at the end of my video, basically from the grandson of, I might be mixing it up, but basically the grandson of the old owner, he said that when he was little, the engine was still cracked, etc., etc., and that's in its parked condition. So the engine will run, but would you ever get 1200 horsepower or anything close out of it right now? Likely not. But what would be really nice to see is, even if it's the actual block and the engine itself are unsavable, there's a lot of interesting parts in there that can be mic'd out and recreated if someone really wanted to. Just for example, the part number on the injection pump, the P-pump, I highly, highly doubt it's a 100% custom P-pump. It's likely off of an old Caterpillar or something along those lines, a bigger V8 that had an inline pump, and they retrofitted it on with a custom gear, custom housing, maybe some custom parts along the way. But the majority of that is likely made by Bosch or something along those lines. But we just need the part number in order to do that. Same as your rods, same as your crank, your camshaft, all that stuff that's lost to time, because short of IDIperformance.com, there's not a huge aftermarket for these little fellas. It's all Power Strokes, Cummins, and Cats, basically. So anyone that's really curious about these engines, it would be pretty cool to see. For example, on IDIperformance.com, when I was doing the video, they have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 rotary injection pumps, DB2 pumps. Basically, they're modified internally, pump up those pressures, pump up those volumes, really get more fuel to those bigger injectors that you're likely running in unison. But it says right on their website, their stage 3 injection pump is almost unstreetable with the rotary style pump. It's basically, you can think of it as idle, wide open throttle. There's no real in between with that style of pump with the amount of modifications that they did. So you have to think, if that's the limitation of the rotary pump, and they're classifying that as 550, 600 horsepower, that's going to be their max. No wonder Hypermax went with the inline 8 P-pump style pump. We're going to call it P-pump style pump. I wish I had the part number, but like everyone else, that's a lot of wishing. What does he say? Wish in one hand, shit in the other. See which one fills up first, basically. But a lot of fellas want to know what's going on with that engine. So basically, circle back. If anything comes out of that video, I hope that it's just more information on that truck. It would be awesome if Peg from Zip Ties and Bias, because it's not in my budget, I can tell you that for free. But it would be awesome if Peg from Zip Ties and Bias Plies could get his mitts on that little fella and start twiddling his thumbs and tinkering with it, or at least blow the thing apart. Or if the grandson wants to pull it all apart, or at least post a lot more photos on it, more information, that kind of stuff, I would even settle for an old video of the truck running a 10-second flat down the quarter mile. Or, holy grail, is when Hypermax first built it and they put it in the pull truck, there's almost no information, no pictures, nothing on the pull truck itself, because it was only out for half a season, 1 season in a small town. I'm sure there's videos of both somewhere on the internet, and I think the clip pictures that I have are from an old video, but to find that actual video, it's long lost with time. So I'm hoping that someone somewhere has more information on it, that it's just going to resurface on it and get some buzz going about that again, kind of revive the IDI in the performance world. Because what's the real setback on this guy? We all know the 6.9 IDI. It has its limitations for strength out of all the three. The 6.9 IDI is the smallest rotating assembly, smallest everything, smallest injectors, smallest pump, that kind of stuff. It's basically just sleeved, and that's its biggest attribute. It runs tough, really. 7.3, everyone knows about it, and then the 7.3 turbo, basically only out for 2 years or 2.5 years or 1.5 years. It's not very long. The 7.3 turbo had the strongest rotating assemblies, strongest everything. It was just a 7.3 basically, so your block was a little smaller. It's a parent bore block on these internationals. But the Hypermax engine, you have to remember, was a 7.3 sleeved down to 6.9 spec. So it was only running volume in the 6.9 spec. The rest of it was closer to a 7.3 IDI turbo than anything. So, is the limitation to the 7.3 IDI turbo, is it only the pump? Can you make a lot more power reliably and streetable with an inline pump? An inline pump than a rotary pump? Because again, the rotary pump, their high performance unit is basically idle, wide open throttle. But with an inline pump, you might have a lot more control over that, which would be pretty darn slick. There's a reason you have a lot of Cummins engines that are pushing well over 1,000 horsepower, and a lot of Cummins engines that just with a little bit of pump tuning can get a 400 horsepower. I'm talking like 5.9s and that kind of stuff. If you can do that with fuel alone and a turbo, who's to say you can't on a 7.3 IDI turbo with a different inline pump? Really pump those numbers up. I don't think 1,200 horsepower is out of the wheelhouse, but the engine, there's only one made, and I just wish we had more information on it. But that's my take on it. I want to believe that it made the horsepower and torque numbers that is rumored for it to be and what all the old diesel power mag and all that stuff back in the time talked about, but without seeing a dyno slip, or at least we can do some math. If we knew the exact weight of the diesel, the F100, the drag truck, and its quarter mile time, and we knew the gear ratio and the tire size, we should be able to roughly figure out how much horsepower that engine was actually putting out. You know what I mean? Because the diesel seemed to be quite a modified F100. Who knows how light that thing was? We just need more information on it. I really hope more stuff comes to light. Let me see if I can read some comments here. I kind of got on a tangent. Brad Davis, I might take you up on that offer down the road, but right now there's no real issues going on. The International maybe, though, because the International is, I don't think this little fella's going to fly under the radar very much. It's very wide. It's going to make a lot of noise, that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see, but I'll keep you close by. Wonder, do people still steal radio from vehicles? I don't think so. Like, you mean the removable head ones? I used to have an old one in a 94 Explorer. It had the handle. You would pull out the handle and the entire deck unit would come out. That was cool. Kenwood. No. I don't think that's a thing anymore. A lot of it's just Apple CarPlay, that kind of stuff. They're more after your rims and your catalytic converters, and they're steel mirror glass. There was a story I watched, a little bit off topic, but there was a story I watched. It was in the Bronx, and one night you would get your driver's mirrors, like the two on the side there, passenger and driver. You get the glass stolen out of them, or the actual mirror assembly, and then you would go to some guy's house, and his whole entire garage was nothing but mirrors. You could buy them back. You know what I mean? Pretty slick. Around here, we don't have a lot of theft, which is pretty good. Even Moncton itself, the bigger city, not a whole lot. It's getting up there like everything else, but like everything else, lock and key, keep everything down, do your best you can. That's pretty much it. What else we got? I'm only 2.5 hours away from there, so let me know if you need somehow to do a legwork. Might take you up on that offer sometime in the summer, I would say. We got a lot of things going on this summer. A lot of things. I'll get into that in just a little bit if we have enough time. If not, it's not a big deal. We'll be doing a couple live streams before summer anyway. But we have a big plan for summer. A lot of traveling. Not a lot of shop time, mind you. But we should be done the International anyway. All the vehicles should be out during the summer. Fingers crossed. And if the International still isn't, it will only be glass limiting us to autocross events and car shows only. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we shouldn't need to be in the shop a whole bunch, thankfully. We'll leave it at that for now. What else we got? You and Peg should do a revive and burnout on the 1200 horsepower IDI one day. The only thing is, with the 1200 horsepower IDI, I believe the block's cracked. From everything that I could read about it and everything that word of mouth, all that stuff, I'm pretty sure it's cracked in half or it's splintered or whatever. A lot of people said in the comments cast iron doesn't splinter, but cast iron does crack. And it especially does when you have water meth injectors and hydro locking and a whole bunch of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a big hole in it or a big crack going down it. So it basically renders that block unusable at this point, which kind of really sucks. So a revive and drive would likely be out of the question unless you brought another IDI with you, slapped that in, and just threw the 1200 horsepower unit in the bed and rocked it like that. That could be done. And then you take home the IDI and you do surgery on it. Figure it out that way. What vehicle are you working on now? This is the 1954 International chassis swap that we were working on before the Trans Am. Basically, before the Mega Cab, all that stuff. Kind of took a big halt when my dad got sick. We won't get into that anyway. But kind of took a big halt. We're just kind of sinking our teeth back into it. Kind of forget where we left off on a lot of things. It's starting to come back, but it's been almost a year since I even touched any of this. And that's pretty wild, not gonna lie. I would say it's been past a year since we did body work to it, and then just a little under the year since we last worked on it. So this is the new project, but we still have about a couple videos worth of mega cab stuff. I'm filming as we go, interior, exterior, and we have a driving video doing some other things with it. We're basically just filming it out, but I like having longer episodes on the mega cab series. That way we can put them out on Fridays or whatever and just sit down, have a nice drink, that kind of stuff. Enjoy the video. The International, if you look, versus the mega cab playlist. Mega cab playlist might have 8 or 9 videos in it. The International has like 68. So the International, we usually show a lot more in depth of what we're actually doing on this guy. But even then, I think a lot more people like the more straightforward point A to point B style video of, for example, let's just say the next video is me reassembling this truck to look like a truck again. That's point A from where we are currently, sitting on a frame, to point B, it now looks like a truck. So that would be one video, and then finish the body work in one video, and then get it running in another video. Like, that's kind of what I mean. A lot of people like the point A to point B videos instead of just what I can work on for that week, because that's basically how the old International playlist was structured. Whatever I could manage to do that week is what the video would pertain to. So the times were all over the place. It is what it is. We're learning as we go. I'm by no means a YouTubeologist. I'm just a fella working in a freezing barn, working on old hot rods and random things. So it is what it is, but we are learning as we go. What else we got? This could also possibly work on the GM 6.5 and 6.2. Yep, exactly, because they both use the same injection pump as the International. So whatever the International works with, it likely wouldn't be rocket science to graft that into one of those older GM products. That's diversity for you. Yes, sir. Hell, up here near Bathurst, my boss got his whole vehicle rear end stolen. That's a first. I haven't heard about that one. I imagine it was likely a 2,500 or a 250 or something like that. Something with a rear end that's worth a little bit of cash. I've never heard of that one before, stealing a whole rear end. I've heard of leaving a vehicle on blocks before, stealing all the wheels off of it and the doors and all that stuff, but never a rear end. Gotta watch out up in Bathurst, I guess. Just found out that my O2 Camry has a removable face radio. Knocked it off accidentally. You sure that's a factory option? I haven't driven a Camry in a long time, so you're very well likely right. That's pretty cool, not gonna lie. What's the future plans for the Chevy pickup? None. Much like the last 6 years, there is no plans for the Chevy pickup. We simply just moved it out of the barn for now. It is sitting at the other location with the Trans Am and all that stuff. We'll figure it out as we go. Basically, that's the biggest thing. But we'll likely have an answer midway this summer. Yeah. We'll cover that down the road. But the Chevy truck, we'll see. That's the best I got. Right now, it's no current plans for the square body. What else we got? Brad Davis says you're doing great. You have our support. Yes, sir. Reach out if you need anything. I appreciate it, Brad. 100% will do. I'm gonna write your name on something. I don't know if I got anything. I'll put you in my notes at the end. But yeah, I'll definitely consider that. I'll see you around on car shows and all that stuff anyway. I'm betting. Atlantic Nationals, we cover that every year. We're going to try to put a vehicle in this year. The last time I put a vehicle in was the F-150 when it was still the long bed. We didn't even have it in short bed configuration then. That's a sad loss too. When my dad died, I knew that we were going to have to take time off from work and time off from YouTube and everything. So in order to fund that, F-150 had to go. Same as our 87 Lariat, that had to go too. Hard loss because spent quite a lot of time pre-channel building that truck, and it was pretty much getting to where I wanted it to be. But sometimes you just got to buck up. I would rather have the International. That's a completely custom unit. We can always build another shorty bullnose down the road. That's not a big deal. The International, I don't think I'll ever have enough time on my hands again to hand mold every single panel. So regardless, this fella's likely going to stick around, but it was a hard loss nonetheless. That's why I didn't see any F-150 content this summer. Basically, after the track bars, that was it. She got up and was put on the chopping block. This is the way she goes sometimes. I'm going to send you a cold start of my 8769 F-250. See if I get a fake review. Yes, sir. Beware. A lot of people don't believe that cold starts can happen on an old IDI. They don't believe that I can just walk out to my old pickup truck and start it up like a normal car. Crazy what glow plugs can actually do. And that truck got fed ether for all of its life, since I've had it. All of its life. And we put glow plugs in it, a new controller. Works great. Starts every time. It's one, if not one of... Yeah, it is, or if not, one of the best starting IDIs on YouTube, which is pretty, it's a nice thing to say, not gonna lie. But I even have videos of me holding that thing pre-glow plugs with ether. Didn't hurt anything yet. Knock on wood. But no, it's been a good truck, really. The old IDIs are they're a great power plant for putting around in, all that stuff. It felt the tractor when I was pulling that tractor on the flatbed tilt deck, but other than that, if it had a turbo, be humming along just dandy. But for me, it's a great little pickup. More power than a Ranger, a little bit more towing capacity. And a lot of room. Any tips about getting into restoration? I'm thinking about doing it on my 69 CRF 100 dirt bike to start. Then work my way to an actual truck and stuff. Heck, I might even put it on the internet. The best advice I can give anyone when it comes to YouTube, working on projects, whatever, just get it done. That's the best way to do it. If you have an hour and a half, and it's in your ability to go work on that thing, go work on that thing for an hour and a half, because the best way that I look at it is the day that we're in today, you can take this with a grain of salt, but when you're done work and everything, you know that you're guaranteed this amount of hours to work on something. But if you plan, oh, I'll do it the next day, something always comes up and it gets pushed back. And then at the end of the day, you're at the weekend and you want to hang out with your buddies and do a whole bunch of stuff. And then you're back to Monday and it's the same thing. So if you have an hour here and an hour there, you don't need to spend 9 hours in the shop. You don't need to spend an entire day in the shop. Just little bits here and there, even if it's just cleaning around it and spitballing in your mind on how you want to do things. Once you get started, you'll get the bug, because then you want to actually work on the thing. And that's the biggest thing, really. A lot of fellas, they get into these projects that they have huge ambitions and they have a huge skill set. Right? I see it all the time. And they take their old truck, their old car that needed a little bit of work here and there, let's say, or wasn't exactly what they had in mind. They took it, blew it all into 1,000 pieces, life gets in the way, and then you spend so much time away from it, not enjoying it, all that stuff, that you forget what it's like to putt around. You forget that little bit of an itch that you used to have, and it's really easy to part ways with the thing, and then you'll never get that back. Someone else is going to finish your project, and it's going to be a dandy old time. For example, Facebook Marketplace. There was an orange International, exact same year, everything. Lowered on a Dodge Dakota frame? No, sorry. Lowered on its stock frame, just a lowered, nice truck. It looked really good. Anyway, it wasn't a restored shaped truck. It was about 75% there, I would say. No rust holes, nothing like that, but original paint, that kind of stuff. It went to car shows for the better half of the early 2000s, locally, Atlantic Nationals, that kind of stuff. Well, I saw up on Marketplace, buddy, after about 2010, took it back home, or 2013, sorry, took it back home that year, blew it apart into 1,000 pieces. Life got in the way, and then he was selling it. He would put it up for sale this year, and his exact words were, "Don't have time to finish." And he showed all the pictures of what the truck used to be and how it was today. And it makes a fella sad, really, because I guarantee the amount of memories he would have had in the 10 years of driving that thing, just in the condition it was, far would outweigh any amount of experience and any amount of extra enjoyment he'll get from going from a 75% showroom vehicle to a 95% showroom vehicle. I'd much rather putt around in the old piece of, not piece of garbage, but you know what I mean, the old truck, the way that it is, enjoy it for what it is, and just have a smile on your face all the live long day. There's not a lot of fellas that can say they have an old International or an old Ford pickup or an old Chevy truck or anything like that anymore. So just having the thing and still having it on the road or enjoying it, that's good enough in my book. If it's modified and you seek the course and you fulfilled your dream, that's awesome. You're one of the very few. But just running the old iron for what it is, that means a lot nowadays. It really does. Just keeping things going, really. But I would say just sink your teeth into it. Just little by little. And if you really like it, you'll really like it. If you really don't, you really don't. But that's the best way to start a project, is to just start. If you look at my early YouTube videos, they're pretty dry. And I definitely was not comfortable around a camera. That's something you're just going to have to learn. Still around people when there's 4 people looking at you, talking to yourself through a phone, gets a little weird. Not going to lie. But you got to grow a thick skin, and you have to keep that image in your head of what you actually want to do. That's the best advice I can give on it. So far, we built a few vehicles here. I built a few vehicles pre-channel, and each one is always a little bit of a better iteration going forward. And one of the other issues, before I leave this topic and we call her dead, basically, if you have a long-term project, let's say 3-4 years plus, right? And you're doing a restoration build, whatever. If you don't keep a clear and concise point A to point B finish in your head and you follow that plan to a T, what happens a lot is you'll get a third there or halfway there and then realize, you know what? I don't want that engine anymore. I want to change that. And then you'll blow it all apart again. You'll sell the parts, you'll source new parts, but now you have to modify other things, etc., etc. Your window keeps moving down and down and down. Your end date, basically, because you're adding things and subtracting things and modifying things. And that's all fine and dandy, but if you only have so much steam in your tank from you wanting to enjoy your vehicle, that initial, when you blew it all apart and you want to work on it, sometimes the best thing that you can do is get it back to how it was, or just say you want to do it. Super, super nice to, if you have the mindset, say you want to do a rear end example, and you know your rear end's clunking, or you know your rear end's getting used up, or you need to do brakes on it, or something along those lines. A smaller task. A lot of fellas get into the problem or get into the rhythm of, if I'm here, I might as well do this. And while I'm here, I might as well do that. Well, it takes a job that might be a day, day and a half, and then you're back to having fun, to it's going to be sitting for about a month so you can get it showroom shape. But how much steam do you really have in your tank, your personal tank, to see that mission through? Or is it just you're going to go through it and it's just going to sit? You know what I mean? There's a red car behind this one that's been sitting for a while, Mike, if you're watching this. You know what I mean? It's almost like that happened. It is what it is. I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying how things are. My perception. I'm bad for it too. But start with small things. It doesn't even have to be a dirt bike. Just because a car is bigger doesn't mean it's harder. But start with a small task on it. If you just need to do brakes, just do brakes and enjoy it for at least a couple weeks or a month or whatever. Even if it breaks down on you, it breaks down on you. Whatever. That's half the fun of driving an old car. But at least you're enjoying it and you get the enjoyment from it. And then if you want to change interior, say you want to do seats, just seats. Leave the carpets. Leave all that stuff. Don't tear it all apart. Do just the seats. Then just enjoy the seats. Baby steps along the way. Enjoy the car for what it is. That way you can actually have fun with it. Because that's the whole reason we do this stuff, is to have fun with these old irons. But it is what it is. Really. I hope that answered your question. What else do we got? What else do we got? How do I change the brakes on a Chevy? You'll have to be more specific, sadly. Not entirely sure. It's different make, model, year. C10, all that stuff, they're fairly simple. Sliders, it's like a lot of everything. I watched your whole Mega Cab series. Nice. It was nice to see, and I really enjoyed it. A lot of people, as I said, love the point A to point B videos of if we're doing, geez, I don't know. If we're doing paintwork, the restoration, the paintwork for however it turned out, forget all that. But the paintwork was, from the beginning of the video to the end, it wasn't a 5-part paintwork series inside the series. A lot of people like that, and I'm going to try to do that on the International. I think a lot more people will get excited about this truck because I think it's a really nice project. It's just, we have 68 videos of the thing. That's a lot. And it's a lot of just welding. Again, a lot of this truck was early me doing YouTube. I didn't understand how things work. But we'll fix that. I guarantee. It'll be better. But I appreciate that you like the entire Mega Cab series. I liked building it, really. And it increased my skill set. I knew when I did the International that I needed like shrinker, stretcher, a roller, especially a bender, maybe a shear. I really need that stuff. Especially for those long, long panels. Those rockers, I could have turned those out not 100 times better, but at least 10 times better than what they actually turned out. Straighter, all that stuff, and a lot quicker. We spent pretty much, I would say, a whole day, half a day on the rockers alone on the Mega Cab. I could have had those whipped up pretty darn slick in a full-size metal brake and shear. It is what it is, but you got to work with what you got. There's no problem with working what you have, but there's always going to be you're going to learn as you go. How long does it take to clear your windshield in the Mega Cab on a sub-zero day? Don't try to use the defrost only to melt the snow, is what I'm going to say. But really, it's not too bad. It's nice and warm by the time I get to work, and work's only about 6 minutes away. So it's really working pretty. I got no, this is the best way I can describe it. The Mega Cab and even Old Blue in its original format has never gave me issues that weren't my fault at the end of the day. Being like, say the alternator belt was loose, and then over a couple days you notice, oh, it's starting a little harder. It's cranking over slower. And then you go into it and it doesn't start. Well, the batteries are dead. And the batteries are dead because the alternator wasn't charging. Because the belt was loose. That would be a my fault problem. Not really the old truck's problem, you know what I mean? If it threw a rod out the block, well, that might be my problem as long as it had oil and coolant in it. That's the truck's problem. But I've had none of those. Old Blue is just, and the Mega Cab in its iteration now, they've been very reliable pickups. No complaints, really. No complaints. And it's really good. I put likely between Old Blue and the Mega Cab now, I've likely put about 80,000 miles, I would say, over the entire thing. That thing's been everywhere. Up in Quebec, everywhere. It's been a good truck. Manageable bites. Do not take everything apart. Yes, 100%. Can't stress that enough. Small tasks win the war. That's just the best way to do it, really. Don't get caught up in, let's do everything because I'm here. That's the last thing you want to do. What's the history of the stable there? This is an old milking barn, as the best way I can describe it. It's been through a couple iterations. The original one was horses and then cows. So I guess horses first. Used to have wood everywhere. We removed a lot of the stalls. The beams that are still up, those are basically the old separation beams, I should say, for the old horse stalls in here. There's one little room that's still kind of the original stall that we reworked a little bit with some wood here and there. But that's the closest you're going to get. But the entire thing was stalls. Pretty darn slick. And it had the concrete slab out front was a huge hayloft, a 3-story hayloft that we had to tear down. And there actually is a clip of Old Blue pulling stuff out of that hayloft before we tore it down. Pretty darn slick. It's older on the channel. I think it's the Old Blue build video. It's a pretty old video. But if you want to see kind of roughly what the hayloft looked like, it's out there. But it used to be an old milking barn, cattle, all that stuff. And then down the road, I think it had pigs in one corner because there's asphalt on the ground and there was steel cladding on the walls and the doors and all that stuff. So it makes you think that they couldn't root through it and dig. Pretty sure that it was pigs, but not entirely sure. But all that's pretty much gone now. It's just a concrete slab going right down the center and dirt on both sides, unheated, has a good draft in her. You need winter woolies if you're going to be working out here. But it's a good spot. I'm quite thankful to have it. But I was working in driveways and everything beforehand anyway. But I don't think we would be doing YouTube without the Higho Stable, the actual place itself. Because working in a snowbank is only fun for so long. It is what it is. You'll be limited to summer, spring, fall. How do I get the little hook on the tailgate to latch on an 86 Ford? You must mean on the actual latch itself, those 2 little hooks. The best way I can describe it, there's a little plastic part. I can't remember the part number for me. I'm sorry. But it's the same part number that's actually in the door lock cylinders. There's a little rod that goes through that arm, but that arm has a little plastic bushing, and it goes through and it locks on. That's what holds it onto the latch. Now, you can do what I did because that part is hard to find and it's expensive. You're going to be paying $12 for 2, which is nuts. And they're just little itty bitty plastic things. If it's just an old work truck and you're not going for a restoration quality build, you can take I think it's a 12 gauge seamless butt connector for electrical. Cut it in half with a saw of some kind. Don't crush it. Then you can slide your hook onto it with the assembly out and then crimp that guy on much like you would for wiring. That's going to hold it on dandy. That's what's been holding on Old Blue's latch forever, really. When I first got it, it's still on there. And if you ever need to take it off, just get some side cutters and cut that butt connector off, and you can take the whole thing off. It works really good, and it's less than half a cent for the one butt connector. If you're buying a 100-pack, can't go wrong. Really, can't go wrong. That's what I use. What else we got? Your positivity and the get up and go work is refreshing. I'm glad you like it. It's the best way to live, I should say. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's the best way to honor my dad. If I can keep going and keep the pedal to the metal and the fuel in the fire, I think that's what he would have wanted. He would have at least wanted me to see me finish all the projects that I had and all the projects that we talked about. At least those ones, I should say. So if we can keep the fire burning, that's the best way to go about things, really. And it keeps you warm, especially when you're out here freezing. You know what I mean? It's coldest when you're sitting down, especially on old iron and stuff. Wonder how silly you could get hot rodding a kid's Power Wheels. Oh, you mean kind of like Grind Hard Plumbing Co. I watch those guys sometimes there. They have some neat builds. They built one like off-road-ish type deal. It's pretty cool. Basically, you just use the plastic body like a race car body and you build something else and plop her on. I would likely break my neck, to tell you the honest truth. But we do have kind of a fun build in the works, but it's only going to be during the summer that we're going to be tinkering with it. Very aggressively low budget. And it might not be road legal. So we might not even try. But just fun to play around with? Yeah. And I pretty much have all the parts here. Almost, anyway. So very low buck. Very low buck. Most of my 76 1-ton was sitting in the cab in bed when I trailered it home. Only way I could afford it. If you look at the International, that's the exact same way it came. Body parts only. And now, the only thing that's original to that is a little bit of the bed sides, a little bit of the back and the roof line of the cab, the window, which has to come out anyway, so that's not even going to be original. And, yeah. Everything else is heavily modified or been replaced. Even the front grille is made by hand. I guess we used a segment of it right in the center. The rest of it is just the best I could find off photos online, measurements, and spitballed, and it is what it turns out to be. But that's half the fun of it, really. It is what it is. But I'm into that. For the body and stuff, I'm into it a lot lower buck than if I would just go out and buy one brand new. Sorry, not brand new, but in good condition. But those are hard to come by anyway. So if you were waiting around here, you'd be waiting a while. But you could still find them out west and trailer them here. But is it a $10,000 truck? No. Am I even going to have $10,000 into this truck when it's all said and done? No. Not even close. But are we going to be over $5,000? Yeah. It is what it is. But it will still be a fun truck. I'm still going to put a trailer hitch on it. We're going to autocross it. We're going to beat the living daylights out of it. It's going to be fun. I can't wait for summer. It's going to be a really fun toy. Not going to lie. And it's going to be 6.9 ADI powered, so it's going to be slow as snot, but it's still going to be fun. It's still going to do burnouts, and it's still going to slide around. We're likely going to do a welded diff, just basic, fun recipe. Small, little 50s truck. Can't go wrong. I wish my garage was big enough to fit my truck in and work on. Yeah, I feel ya. For a long time, I was doing driveway specials. I remember one day, girlfriend came down, and she was only staying down for a weekend. I only had one vehicle at the time, and it was my 94 Explorer. It had a 4-inch body lift. No, sorry. A 4-inch suspension lift and a 3-inch body lift in it, and I had 37s on it. It drove absolutely terrible, and I was putting about 310 kilometers on it a day for work. That was fun in that thing. So one day I said, you know what, I'm going to pull the body mounts out of it. Well, it was the middle of December, and we got, I think it was 17 centimeters of snow that day. It was quite a lot. So I was pulling body mounts out of the truck during a snowstorm. Fun times. And that was a high lift jack in a driveway. So it is what it is. I did 3 transmissions in a driveway. Same driveway, actually, with that 94 Explorer. Doing pilot bearings and clutches and stuff. A lot of it, again, my fault. One transmission, ran it no fluid. Oops. All the fluid leaked out top. Didn't know. Blew the transmission on the way to Fredericton. And then another one, blew the pilot bearing out. And et cetera, but had to do that in a sleet storm, had to do that in a snowstorm. It is what it is. You got to work with what you got, but I feel for you. I am very, very fortunate to be in what I'm in right now. Thanks for the advice. I'm heading, down to start work on it now. Thanks for the inspiration too. I hope it serves you well. That's the best way to go about it. Just piece by piece, little thing here and there. Even if it's just changing a headlight or changing a brake light or putting a carpet in or changing a seat. Small things like that, over time, build the truck. It's just how it is. And I guarantee you'll have a lot more seat time behind said truck than anyone else if especially if you daily it, if you have the climate to daily it year-round and really enjoy the project that you're working on currently, you'll have way more seat time in it and way more enjoyment and way more memories with that vehicle than the guy that's going to wait 5 years for it to be absolutely perfect and then never drive it in the snow, never drive it in the rain, never drive it in the wind, always have to keep it shiny, all that stuff. That's good for some vehicles, but if you really want to make nice memories that are stress-free, it's the best way to go about it. Work on it as you enjoy it. This is how it is. Don't blow it into 1,000 pieces, because then you got to put it all back together to even drive it. You know what I mean? PVC pipes, tarps, and a little heater make movable heated area. I had a big one of those propane torpedo heaters pointing right underneath the truck, and it was all tarped over. I don't know how I didn't suffocate in there, but that's what I was working with. And it was basically on your back, soaked the entire time. I can't say it was fun. I did it out of necessity. Again, it was my own vehicle, and I needed it for Monday morning. But you got to do what you got to do. And this is how she goes. But it, again, did 2 or 3 transmissions that way on that vehicle specifically. Sorry for interacting, not very much. My internet is horrible tonight, says Ricky. No worries, Ricky. I'm glad to have you here anyway. Oh, and before we wrap this up, I'm only going to spend another 5 minutes. I could only spend an hour today. But before we wrap this up completely, I know a lot of you guys wanted to know about the flags and all that stuff. See if I can. Oh, I'm losing it. There we go. See, I got the Zip Ties and Bias Plies flag there and the Higho Stable Garage flag. He's right there behind that beam. A lot of you fellas are wondering about merchandise being t-shirts, hats, that kind of stuff. You got to remember, I'm less than a novice when it comes to website building and all that stuff. But it is my mission for hopefully the beginning of February to have it live. Mind you, we don't have hardly any stock. I have 3 flags left, sold them locally, that kind of stuff, and gave away a couple as presents and that kind of thing. It was basically a test bench, test batch, had some imperfections, that kind of thing. But either way, we only have 3 flags left, and there will be going up on the website when it goes live. But that's going to be the only merchandise we have. So once they're gone, they're gone. They're going to go, whoop, and that's it. And then we can order some other things. I have some hats coming down the pipe too. So they'll be the next thing. But it's going to be baby steps as we go. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a learning curve. But I hope that answers the question on merchandise. I'll answer 3 more questions, and then we're going to wrap this guy up. I can carry 2 alternator belts. Great for the live stream. Can't wait to see where you go from here and appreciate you remembering your father. Good stuff. I appreciate it, Brad. 100%. If I don't hear from you again, have a good night. Appreciate the support and appreciate the local support. 100%. What tools would you deem essential for engine rebuild? I'm thinking lash tools, socket set, torque wrench, mallet, bench grinder. Your thoughts? I am by no means a professional machinist. If you can take that however you will from the 403 engine build that we did on this. And again, the barn isn't really suitable for engine building. Again, it's kind of like what I touched on. You do it out of necessity, and you do it because you have to, and you do it because you want an outcome. And if you're doing it yourself with all of that figured out, well, if it doesn't turn out, it just doesn't turn out. Is what it is, and you learn from your mistakes there. But if you want to get into it, you're going to need lash tools. As you said, I would get, what you called it? Shoot. I don't deal with gas jobs a lot nowadays. Finds your top dead center. What is that called? Your basic stuff. Let's just leave it at that. You're going to need a top dead center checker tool. It goes in your spark plug, that kind of stuff. It's really easy, especially if your harmonic balancer is slipped over. But Sled gauge, it's really good for finding top dead center, that kind of stuff. Vernier caliper, micrometer, inner depth micrometer. If you're doing engine rebuild, you're going to need a hone of some kind, is what it is. Cam bearing installation tool. It was a little pricey when I bought it. I think they were $130 at Princess Auto. That's like our Harbor Freight kind of deal in Canada. But it paid for itself on the 403 Oldsmobile. 100%. A little bit of Magnaflux isn't a bad idea either. That way you can see if you have cracks and all that stuff at home. Not a hard system to get by either. If you're using like old iron blocks and stuff like that, needle scaler. If you live in a rusty climate, even if you have caked on grease, needle scaler works a ton. And if you want to go the easy route, a 55-gallon drum filled with molasses or a 55-gallon drum filled with water and do electrolysis, is dump the whole block in there, bare block. It'll clean the whole thing right up. Works pretty darn slick. But basic tools. Nothing too crazy. Really. Nothing crazy at all. That will get you started. And then from there, you're going to learn very fast of what you need for your specific situation. Because if you're not building them for people, you can get by with certain things. It just takes a little bit more time. I'm gonna subscribe. I appreciate it, Snake Shorts. I'm leaving for now. Have a good day and better one tomorrow. Thanks, Brett. See you around, buddy. Appreciate it. Am I from Australia? No, Canadian. You got a snap. I do, but I'm never on it. I don't use it for Higho Stable Garage. Nothing. And basically, the only social you're going to find me on, we do have an Instagram, but that is virtually dead. It's hard enough working full-time and then doing this on the side. It's hard enough finding the time just for the YouTube portion. If I could find a program that could regurgitate the stuff onto Instagram or whatever, that'd be a no-brainer, or Facebook. But I just as one guy, I can't handle it. It's too much. So the only social really to follow us on is going to be Higho Stable Garage YouTube and eventually HighoStableGarage.com. That's basically going to be it. Those are going to be the two I'm going to sink my teeth into. Do you work for CR? Or did you used to? Saw your jacket and some of your videos. Bunch of great guys over there. No, never worked for CR. It's an old jacket that my dad gave me. Pretty darn good. And those heirlooms are coming. They're hard to come by these days. So, no, wear it with pride. Nothing bad to say about the fellas. But no, I hope you guys enjoyed this little live stream. Just a little one. Usually we're out here for a couple hours. But just wanted to touch base with you guys. See how you guys are doing. Talk about the channel just a little bit. Again, merchandise, it will come. Hopefully first week of February. If not, last week of January, which we're kind of in now. Is what it is. But it is coming down the pipe very soon. Will there be merchandise on there? If you're one of the first ones. But yeah, we're getting the ball rolling. This year we want to change some things to make it a profitable business. Because right now we've just been kind of going into the hole. But I'm also just been doing a lot of my own stuff too. So it's a little bit of give and take. But if we want to do this long term, we got to start learning. We got to start learning fast. Either way, that's just how things are going. But I hope you guys have a great night. I really enjoy you guys coming down and sit and chat and spend a little bit of your night away from your family, friends, kids, that kind of stuff. Means a lot. And I will catch you guys in the next video really, really soon. It is what it is. See you guys.